Welcome to Creative Tien channel. Today we are going to look at machine knitting ruffled edge and the scallop edge or trim. Sometimes we just don't want to use a ribbon, and there are many different ways to finish an edge. The ruffles and scallops can add some character to your design. It will be suitable for warmer weather garment or anything that's more feminine. First, I want to start with ruffle. And I'm going to use my LK150 knitting machine again. I'm going to use a fingering weight yarn or something that's thinner. The thinner yarn will work better with more feminine style of edging. You want it to be a little bit lighter and a little bit more movement. And for the ruffle, there are so many ways to do it. The basic concept is to knit a few rows of plain stockinette stitches and then take it off the machine, rehand it. But you put 2 stitches in one needle, or you can add more than 2 if it fits, or you can have different combination, maybe alternating between 1 stitch and then 2 stitches, and then 1 stitch, 2 stitches. The more stitches you overlay on one needle, the more gathering you will be, and you will be a deeper ruffle. And one tip to do the ruffled edge is to start with some crocheted edge. So we create 1 row of the chain stitches. So it's good to use a crochet hook. The smaller size one should work better for LK150. You can also use a latch tool. This can also make crochet chain stitches. The first thing is to make a knot, just like you are going to crochet. I will place this one on the first stitch on the left and make it a little bit smaller. And I insert the needle into the loop and pick up the yarn on the left, grab the yarn through the loop and go under the second needle, and then we'll grab yarn again through this loop, go under the third needle, grab the yarn. I'll try to use my latch tool, see if it's easier. That's easier. And this is the last stitch. I will place a loop back to the needle. And now I will thread the yarn through the carriage. And I want to set the tension to a larger tension. I'll set it to number 9. And I will push the stitches back. Now I can start knitting. Place the weight. Now I have 5 rows. Now I can use my circular knitting needle to take the stitches out and rearrange it. This is similar to the top of the head when you try to decrease the stitches. So I take the yarn off the carriage, push the needle out a little bit more, and place all the stitches to the circular knitting needle. Now I have all the stitches on the needle. We will rearrange it so we can overlay the stitches. So each needle I want to have 2 stitches. And you just place 2 stitches onto one needle. I know this is tedious, so we have a different way after this. Now we just reduce the width We had 40 stitches before, now we only have 20. Push all the needles out and stitches to the back. And we'll add some weight and knit a few rows. Add weight, hand the yarn back. And we're going to change the tension to smaller tension. I can do tension 4. Now we need a few rows. That's what it looks like. And I will bind off and take this off the machine. So that's the ruffled edge. The back side. You can see the cast on chain. It creates a nice finish. The next method is the same for the first part. I start with a row of chain stitches, set the tension to number 9 and knit 5 rows. Now instead of transferring stitches using a circular needle or using a garter bar, I'm going to transfer every other stitches to the next stitches. So the second stitch goes to the first. The empty stitch will put it to A position, the non-working position. So I will keep transferring every other stitches. This way the whole fabric will be more narrow. And you don't have to take it out of the machine and rehand it. Now we transfer the stitches we are going to knit. And I'm going to change the tension again to the smaller tension, maybe number 4 or number 5. And I'm going to knit 10 rows just like before. Now I'm going to bind off and take it off the machine. So you can see this is the second ruffle we just made, and this is the first one. The plain stitch knitting is tighter than the second method by transferring stitches. So make sure you do a swatch and check the dimensions if you use this method, because it will be different from the plain stockinette stitches. The stitches are a little bit bigger for this one. For the scallop edge, I'm going to show one way I like. And this is also related to mark ribbing. We also use every other needle, and we'll do a crochet cast on to create a row of chain stitches. And I'm going to use the main tension. I will keep it smaller, use number 4. Push the yarn back a little bit, and I will need a row count for the trim. And I'm going to do 5 rows here. So I will do 1 row first and then put some weight. Now I will need 5 rows. And I'm going to hand it back in a certain interval. I will have 3 of the stitches in between and then hand the 4th stitch. 1, 2, 3. I'll pick up the cast on row and hand it back to the needle. I'll leave these 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4. Pick up the cast on stitch and hand it back. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's one more at the end. And again, I'm going to hand weight and start knitting the main stitches. It's easier to push all the needles out. And I will need 10 rows for the sample. That's the back side. You can see the scallop. I'll bind off and then we'll look at the front. So that's the scallop from the back side, and this is the front. I'm sure different thickness of yarn will create different look. But those are some ideas you can try, and there are a lot of variations you can experiment. I kind of like the back side better because you can see the scallop that's more three-dimensional. So that's the 3 different ways for the trim: 2 ruffled edge and 1 scallop. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching and see you next week.